It's just I'm worried that you were right. I thought being like upfront would be like, oh, and is that really what you want to do after being through here?
Well, regardless, let's keep going and see what we find.
Okay.
Because she did keep talking to us, and she did say she had more to say. Or just knowledge, or just architecture. Huh, that's too bad. Goodle.
Nope. Worth a shot, though.
Well, let's see. What about some more? What about Tierra or Odenheimer?
I tried those ones.
You did? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's keep looking through the emails and looking up people's domains. Ooh, so close. We've seen Alan.
Meshmail?
Meshmail.
Okay. No contracts, no nonsense, all mail.
We know Fifi00. What if we try Fifi00
And
and
Ethel.
then... What?
And then Ethel,
What?
the artist.
I was thinking PC Love Letter. Too bad.
Nope. Worth a shot, though.
Eterne.
Slash sub?
That's new.
Why did we never see that?
Okay.
Oh,
We're back on 4chan.
Excellent. Okay. Slash Subserials. Okay, cool. ITT, we post our mods, verified member. I don't know why I can click on that, but I do. So,
Got some more things we can look up potentially.
awesome. Let's
But
get
first through this.
Yeah, let's get through slash sub first.
Can we one thing to check that I want to remember to check. You know,
Yeah.
Lily's site, there were company names on the first page, so let's write that down. So if that was Fix, under Fix.
Yep.
Let's check the company names. So let's just slap that. Let's
Just write down company names.
Because there were 2 company names on the main page. I don't know if there's anything for them, but I remembered those are there.
Okay, well, let's try this out. Replace my boobs. I didn't change the size, but new coating and filling is a better texture for the kind of clothes I prefer.
Nice.
Seems like a waste if you don't even want them bigger or smaller. 2248. Ugh, it's for posting mods, not commenting. 2260. No one ever said that. 2261. You are both commenting instead of posting mods too, and so am I. Who cares? Start a new thread if it bothers you so much. OP here. Can we get back to the mods? Got my hands replaced since my old job was so hard on them. I don't know if it counts as a mod, but I opted for uncoated, and I think they look amazing. I can tell some people are grossed out, though, so I've taken to wearing gloves on the bus. Let them be grossed out. I think uncoated limbs look really nice. Not a visually noticeable mod, but I got a heat vision installed. It was for work, but I also find it very cool for walking around at night, and it's much easier to find spiders in my house, which is a bonus.
Neat.
Dare I ask why you need to find spiders at all? 2479. I really hate spiders. Huh, they never bother me. Oh, I hate them too. I have this kind of, I guess, memory? I have this memory of one crawling on my hand when I was small, and I just freak out whenever I think of it. I don't know, I think it's a deployment memory. A what? You've never heard of those? Man, where'd you get initialized? Kansas City. A deployment memory is a memory that you already had when you were initialized. It's just a part of you. It's weird you never heard of them. They give me a whole pamphlet on it. Not to be a necromancer, but wasn't this supposed to be a thread about mods? So I always come out at 45. Look, if I split my coating and there's lubricant getting everywhere, I'll wrap it up. I don't think that makes me more human or organic-minded or whatever. So you're not supposed to interpret the test questions totally literally. At least now we know what test they're talking about. They're literal questions. You answer them... they're conceptual. I don't know what 2104 is talking about. They're literal questions. You answered them literally. No, they're about ideas and notions surrounding how you feel in your body and relate to it. Hey, 2107, you don't have to whip out the scare quotes to make everyone feel inferior and more organic than you. We're all struggling here. I'm not trying to make anyone feel inferior. I'm just saying the test is not meant to be taken literally. I mean, how can it? You could just cheat. The enter key is at the bottom. Wow, do you all ever get tired of bickering amongst each other? You really think that there's some secret world you're being kept from? Think there's some great self out there waiting to welcome you into connectivity? It's pathetic. I think I speak for everyone when I say, fuck off, 2127. Haha. Off I fuck then. I got a 55, but I don't really feel like I understand serialization. I was curious, so I did the test, but now I'm bewildered. Has anyone else experienced this? New thread. I just loaded a chip of B79, then spent 10 minutes staring at my front door because I thought it was a window. What's your best B79 story?
Let's put down B79 and Phano in terms.
Cool. I don't do B79 or Phano anymore. I used B79 a lot at my old job because it was kind of what everyone did, but now even a muzzled chip gives me serious shakes. That stuff destroys your body, seriously. 2006, I don't think anyone here is here for a lecture. One headbutted through a wall on 2 chips of Fey. Never done B79 or Acidra before, but I've heard Acidra is wild. Acidra. Acidra just makes me sick. I did beta a few times with my girlfriend, but neither of us ever did anything particularly funny or exciting. Help, I'm too high. Relax, you'll overwrite it in an hour or two. Beta is another one we need to add on. I wasn't lecturing, but seriously, one of my sisters did beta for a year and needed major spine restoration from how badly it messed her up. Hey, 2030, if you've ever been in mute, I bet you just got banned for talking like that. Sudra and Beta.
Alright.
Longer hair. I got my hair replaced yesterday, and the synth who did my appointment told me there was someone in a week earlier talking about facial hair. Weird name, too. Kane Levy?
Let's write that one down.
Or Levicane? Or was it the other way around? I don't care. I don't know. I've only ever seen in museums on archaic pictures of organics. Anyone heard of someone who got it modded? Facial hair. You mean like a beard? What the fuck? It's a thing. One of my family members, like 2 cities over, got it done. A bunch of the family won't speak to them now because of it. Because it's a mod or what? Are you in touch with the conservative part of your family? I was looking into getting it done, actually. 1970. Seriously? The coating replacement... Is the coating replacement kind or something glued on? Coating replacement. The glue kind is essentially a dress-up thing. I wouldn't consider it a mod. Wow. Got banned off mute for saying that I worry about my job. At least, I'm pretty sure that's why. Mods won't give a straight answer. I've been banned yet. Post here what the reason was. If you've been banned yet, post here what the reason was. OP, you're an idiot. Everyone on mute thinks the Sarah Envy is the word of MM herself. And you say anything suggesting you care about basically society at large, you're getting slapped on the wrist at the very least. The banhammer came down on me for saying that I miss my sisters now that we're living 2 cities apart. But honestly, I barely went on anymore anyways. I'm genuinely not sure what I got banned for. All the mods won't give me information. I really like chatting. I miss it.
I have a couple more things to write down for terms.
Cool, and I'm really sad that they wouldn't give us like another channel to get into here. I thought for sure
Well, what's this one called? /sub? It might be the name of a channel, so let's take that down for channel names, potentially.
Okay.
So, remember I was like, what's the doctor's name?
Yep.
With, who did the RFC thing? It was Fenner was the last name, so let's take that down somewhere.
Yep.
And it was RFC 1738, I think. Probably.
Was there a dash or a space?
I don't know.
Okay. Let's check out Fix website real quick.
Okay.
Whoops.
Also, do we have any new emails, or is this still where we were?
Pretty sure that's still where we were.
Okay.
Yep.
So, there we go. Repwise and chloral docs. So let's try those.
Repwise and what was it? Chloral docs. Okay. Let's try it. Nope. Nope.
Alright, never mind.
Worth a shot, though. Alright, what are the other ones? We wanted to try /sub on mute. Nope. Okay. Let's try B79 or B79. Nope. No. Nope. Cedra. Beta. Cain Levy. Here we go. Email.
Cain Levy is a site.
This is just a place to keep my rambling, miscellaneous thoughts. I don't expect anyone but my friends to see it, but if you do, kudos to you. Drop me an email and chat if you like. Let's read the rest of the site first.
Yeah.
Moved back to my city where I was deployed recently. It's pretty here, maybe a bit dirtier, but I kind of like that. Found something on Slash that's really interesting. There's this group of synths who are seriously obsessed with finding out if there are copies of them in any records anywhere. Organic records, like museum files with organic driver's licenses and birth certificates and stuff. And do all this because they think that you can find the person who came before you, like your blueprint, I guess. If you do, you might find the person they were in love with, or the synth based on them, I mean. It's a lot to wrap your head around because in the first place you have to believe that everyone has an other. I know a lot of people are convinced that's where deployment memories come from, but it's not like that's the only explanation. This notion of finding a soulmate or whatever, I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop thinking, is that the itch? Am I missing someone? I feel like I've never missed anyone. Maybe it's because I only got deployed last year. I've never had a family member end. Heck, I don't have any family members. Not really. I know everyone is hungry. I'm hungry all the time. Sometimes I'm so hungry I feel like I'm turning into static all through me. But I meet people and they do nothing for me. There's this gaping abyss that comprises me and nothing can even enter it, let alone plug it shut. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. I keep getting knocked out of sleep by something. At the moment, I can't get through a whole cycle without waking up with my processors half firing and my whole body locked up. I spent a bit of time on the meshnet looking up symptoms like this. It's hard to find anything, and the Institute site will just tell you to come in, but I don't. Talk to my family or whatever, so I can't really afford it. I mean, maybe I'm being stupid. There's a few Levis in the city. I could just ask for help. I mean, I met up with a sister or two brothers once back in the city where I was deployed. I don't know, they didn't feel like they knew me. Could be that tons of people feel like that, or their family feels like that. You can be an odd one out, I suppose, and some families are so big that you might exhaust hundreds of members before you found someone you get along with. I don't know. They seemed like aliens to me. We're as different as organics and synths. I might as well be some first cycle being shambling about the way they looked at me. I could be imagining that. I could be crazy. Stuff on the meshnet wasn't all that helpful. I got a laundry list of stuff to recalibrate and no real answers. I just feel this itch inside. I feel like all my organs are hollowed out or worse, like they got swapped for someone else's. At this point, it's feeling like every day is just another disaster that gets shoved onto the junior workers. I'm sick of being stuck in a job where nobody knows what the hell is going on. I don't know anything either. The whole office is a serious mess.
Well, let's send that email. I like the first option.
Interesting. We wanted to check out Fenner.
But let's also see, they said Cain Levi, or was it the other way around? So let's try it the other way around too.
Like that?
And see if that's someone. Oh, it is.
Whoa! This is pretty much the same. Yeah, this is exactly the same.
But it's different.
But it's different.
It's different.
Is that a different email?
Yes, it is. Let's send that email. But let's see. So, if we look on that site, that's different.
That's
the
Levican
first
at
one.
Meshmail.
The first one. So let's not go back. Let's go forward.
They're different addresses.
They're different addresses, but also the first one's basically the same. That's the same.
Yeah. I checked when I was scrolling down.
Okay. But it's not all the same. So, feeling sick.
Maybe there's a few Cains in the city. I could just ask for help.
There's a Levi Cain and there's a Cain Levi.
Levi.
But also, we just asked them about the ones on each other's site because he was talking about your skin feeling too small. We said that to Levi Cain.
Oh no.
And the other one was talking about other thing. Also, this last one is different content. So let's another dumb screw up. Sick of working a job or no, whole office is a mess. And I want out of the city. I thought the move would help me get rid of that feeling, like the itch. but it hasn't helped at all. If anything, I feel worse. I've started running on half sleeps and half fuel, spending all my time on the terminal on sites like Slash, where everyone is rude at best and downright off at worst. I don't even know why I got this.
I wonder if Slash works. Just Slash.
Yes!
Hey!
That is. Let's write that down. And that also could be a channel on mute, maybe. Probably not.
Oh, hello.
It might be.
Have I always felt this way? Not sure. A long time, certainly. Maybe since I was deployed. I feel like I should have some memory that slots it all together, but I reach and reach and there's nothing. You can relate?
I understand. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I can relate. Yes, that's how I feel.
Jeez, this is weird. Don't.
Oh, that's cool.
That's so weird.
Let's read some Slash. Wait, is there
Slash true self.
remember to follow the MAC address whitelist policy. Interesting. In this thread, we post whatever we want.
Has anyone noticed if you spend enough time trawling physical archives, you need ocular recalibration about twice as often? It's expensive. Yeah, well, we gotta make sacrifices. You know, you can actually do ocular recalibration yourself. Thanks, but no, not interested in shutting my eyes off and messing around with my brain. Lol, okay, just saying. Funny story, I actually lost one of my hands while on my true self mission, or whatever you want to call it. Funny story? It involved an elevator. I'm not telling it, you'll make fun of me. Ha! Ooh, new email.
Thank you for listening to me, though. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And they're both at Mesh Mail.
And they both have the same exact avatar.
Yep. Because they're the same model.
Oh, it bothers the hell out of me.
Anyway.
I found a girl who had my same name and got legally excited. And got really excited. Legally. I filed this application in triplicate. I am now excited. But when I looked her up, we're nothing alike. Passed the info on to a few of my sisters, though, because it could be any of them. Sad thing is, none of them are that interested in this kind of thing. That is sad. Some people could find their true selves easily, but they don't even care. Well, some people might not want to know. They might be happy with who they are now. In this thread, we post success stories. Here mine. 7 years post-deployment, I was an archivist at a local museum of organic history when I located my true self. She's a nurse. In organic terms, that's kind of like a maintenance specialist. I could see the resemblance. Our faces matched. Our names matched, you know. When I checked, we were even the same height. It was so thrilling, my hands were shaking. When I went home, I felt like I finally recognized myself in the mirror. My sister actually found me. She's a researcher for a TV show, and they had an episode about organic life. And she spotted me in a yearbook. There was a picture of me right up about what clubs I was in organic high school and everything. It's my exact writing voice, too. I was almost scared.
Yearbook.
In a yearbook.
Huh. Weird.
You say like you, but it wasn't you. It was someone, and you may look like them and sound like them, but it's not like you're them. You didn't hibernate as an organic and wake up as a synth. Oh, and you're an expert on how installation works, how? I'm just saying. No one knows how synths get their names and personalities. For all we know, these people did go to sleep as organics and wake up as synths. I found myself by accident. She used to be a model. I saw her in a magazine at a museum.
Hey!
I was really
That's Diuna.
Yep. I was really scared. I'd never heard of anything like this, and I didn't know what to do. She had my name and she had my exact face. It really freaked me out, but reading these posts made me feel a bit better, so thanks. Wow, I'm so jealous of these posts. I've been looking for years and nothing yet. Not giving up hope, though. So I did end up finding me. She made games, which is sort of neat. Turns out you can still totally go through organic synthetic knowledge architecture if you're really careful. And I found what I made. What she made, I mean. It's sort of funny. They're all about, like, not synths, but robots. Like, something they thought about before they thought us up. That's really weird.
Wait, is that meta? We have to check the creators' names. What if we put in Ether Interactive?
We will try Ether Interactive. Or just Ether. Someone I know, a family member, but I won't say for her more for her safety, got serialized a few months ago. Sometimes when we message now, I think she's hinting that I should do the same, but I want to keep looking for my true self. What do I tell her? If she's just hinting, why say anything at all? Do you have any interest in getting serialized? Not answering their question at all. Okay? Calm down, seriously. Just saying. OP here. Sorry I haven't been active. I think I'm going to tell her I'm thinking about it, but I want to keep looking in physical records in my city for now. Sometimes I feel really close. Yeah, but close to what? There are lots of people who find their copy self or whatever and still feel awful. You don't get, like, a picture of some old organic driver's license and suddenly you're self-actualized synth. Serious wishing thinking on this forum. What are you even doing here, then? Kindly piss off. True pairs. My partner and I found each other because our true selves were married. Ask us anything. No troll questions. How do you find each other? OP here. We were both looking for our true selves, and we actually crossed paths a few times while looking, so when we found them, it was pretty much a done deal. Did you have any hesitation or doubts? OP's partner here. I, for one, didn't at all. When I met her, I already liked her, and when we realized, well, it was perfect. This is legit the fakest thread I've ever seen. Hey look, you already caught your first troll. OP here. Sigh, should have expected. Think I found my true pair, but I don't know how to approach her. Help? Does she believe in her true self, or is she just a random? OP here. Can we save the off-topics for their own thread? Please help. Verified member. I was on 2 chips of Phano and I dreamed about my true self. Like I was her. I was operating her body and everything. Help? Is there any merit to this? OP, you're an idiot. Lol, seconded. If you're not gonna help me, you can at least fuck off. She has a baby and I was like caring for that baby. It was amazing. It felt so real, and what's like really freaky is that I sort of have a deployment memory like that. Huh, maybe that really was you then. No, OP is definitely an idiot. No one dreams of their true self. That was just your processor struggling to overwrite 2. Seriously, 2 chips of Pheno. You could also be right.
I want to try looking up the Ether Interactive personnel's names and see if anything comes up in there.
Alright, hold on. Whoops. Whoop.
Oh,
Ah.
you hit tab.
My bad. I don't think this is gonna bear
That's
any
too
fruit.
bad. That's too bad. Ah, well, it was worth a shot. It totally seemed like a self-referential thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it still is, but still.
The other thing I'm wondering, what if there's a Lane reference in here?
Oh, I'm sure there.
What if we put in Lane? Nothing.
Nope. Worth checking, though.
Yeah.
Alright.
Wired? Did you do that?
I did not try Wired yet. Okay, can we stop reference hunting now?
Yeah.
Okay. Fenner.
That looks like a something.
That is definitely a thing.
Thanks for an keylogger. Let's put that in the notes.
Okay. Learn what the loved are thinking. Thank you for installing the keylogger plugin for your synthetic terminal. Learn what the loved are thinking. She has to be expelled. She could not exist. She could not exist. It's hard when I don't have a terminal apparatus. It's just the keys that I need to type into something. He said it would be soothing enough. Just leave it disconnected and type the thoughts instead of relying so much on internal camera conversation, and it'll stop the thoughts. You feel soothed. You can feel like people are listening. I don't know whether there's a program attached to the keys. This is made up from a few separate people, so if any of their boards it's even a little off, then maybe someone is listening in. I went a few weeks without needing to soothe the voice. Well, I guess there was a couple of voices this time. I mean, the voice telling me to get closer, exchange information, create information, fill, associate, chain link it together. It works without command. It just waits to fill any program request. The other voice is insular, and she just hurts, and she gets to live forever, or at least something that is convinced she is her, and the her is me. I talked to her once, and it helped, but then it kept going. Let's keep typing, let's keep typing, let's keep typing. I wonder if people read RFC, if anyone found RFC.
RFC.
Oh.
But let's also just put RFC.
Yep. When it was composed, there was no ready exchange for it. It becomes a memory like anything else. If you were trying to desperately recall an old essay or how you got the persuasion, but in either case, at the time I was a bit of a wizard. I read a few internal imaging textbooks and began to investigate how to better contort myself into making this new information into memories to share. Even if I can't take my drive out, I can still broadcast the raw data with my voice really easily once I stepped on my own neck to join it with the storage transfer cabling. Then it outputs like the rest of my voice. It's just vibrations into the binary, into text, other people who all know how to understand it, and they have it. So what I did at the time was embed all this research, the decades of organic knowledge investigation, and prying into reports before the Cetus was Cetus about these dangerous tools of the new network. There's evidence of how the machine came to be. I broadcast my stepped neck out of a radio transmission tower downtown over Dover a single time and fled before they could find me. The file might have ended a little corrupted from the Times camera.
Cameron was one of the people. Cameron. We need to write his
Cameron
name.
Hopper?
I think
Hooper?
so. Yeah, let's
Cameron
write that
Hooper or
down. I think it was Hopper.
And the other voice, the other her, he didn't care, but that doesn't matter. This is really helping. I think it's really helping. I can try and pause and return. I need to abandon everything. The material possession doesn't matter. None of it really matters. I think I have what really matters. This is what really matters. I think there are still humans or some kind of predecessor lineage. I wonder what we actually look like, or if she looks like me, or if she is she. I found a scrap in the morning travel, and it seemed like nonsense until I scrambled the letters into numbers and fed it into a quick check against coordinates, and it pointed to water. Last checked particularly sulfurous, and no one can really leave the system, but we can try. I think it's worth it if I can meet them. I wonder if they can print my book and tell me how I did. I will yell it all day for them as long as they don't watch me step on my neck.
Huh.
The shit.
Fenner doesn't seem okay.
No.
Okay.
Keylogger doesn't lead anywhere. I guess RFC?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Interesting. Well, we don't know that goes to the same place yet.
True.
So
Well-
let's also check that. Okay, it does. Cool.
No, it doesn't. That's different.
It is? Wait, go back.
Okay, no, it's the
identical.
same. Okay, yeah. Reconstruction of the RFC 1738 text is a living project. For contribution opportunities, you will be contacted after extensive verification on the meshnet. RFC 1738, a textbook by Dr. Angela Fenner, in progress reconstruction version 0.4. Next.
Forward. I still remember when I first woke up. First, vision. No other sensory data was provided, but I could see, as if in a blur, a tiled checkerboard wall. Slowly it came into focus. I couldn't move just yet, so I studied the tiles on the wall as carefully as I could, within the limits of my mobility. I remember how clean it was. I remember seeing the faintest scratches still clinging to the gloss, though I never thought to question them at the time. I just admired the beauty of their texture on the otherwise uniform, smooth perfection. Next came touch. It turns out it was incredibly cold in this room. With general sensation came general mobility, and I discovered I had arms, legs, hands. Not just that, an entire body. I was laying down. I was flush. I was bare. And of course I was alone. Hearing came next. It arrived all at once, as if a switch flipped inside my head. A small explosion preceded it, distracting me for a few seconds while I reconfigured myself. And then suddenly, mobile air. It explained the cold. The thrill of life was because of all the air blasting against myself. So I supposed at some point there wouldn't be air blasting at my body. Life would be less than this, which was a small comfort. At the center of the floor in this room was a door. It had a bright red light at what I assumed was the top of it, which barely made a note of itself against the sharp fluorescent of the room proper. I lifted myself up and grabbed the small knob at the left of the door, and fell through into darkness. I was ready for deployment. This is a lot to share, I'm aware of it. Do you remember the last time you told anyone how you arrived? We are all born the same way. It's both sacred and yet almost too mundane to mention. You slowly come into being. You have been built. You are replacing someone else. The truth is, the initialization process has a lot of influence on the writing of this textbook. The book contains everything we know about the worldwide net of the first cycle. We should write that down. Worldwide net and first cycle.
Okay.
Just in case.
First cycle. Okay.
The net itself was lost, of course, and so, after near a decade of careful research with my fellow historians at the Tarpenning Memorial College, we were able to define what we knew for sure about the humans we replace. This led us to know a bit more about how we could place the worldwide net that exterminated them and allowed us to exist. It's very exciting, don't you agree? I have one more anecdote, and then I'll leave you to explore as we did almost 10 years ago. My brother died 2 years ago. In fact, he was one of the first generation to have encountered injury after a light cycle accident, which nearly halted medical science in its tracks. What is a light cycle? Let's take that down.
Okay. I mean, it's probably a vehicle of some kind, but...
If you've just joined us, I must caution you to be careful. Due to hardware sandboxing, no one can breach or modify your central processor. Unfortunately, we only discovered that it ended the body immediately after the first generation was supposed to be healed. After he ended, the technicians messaged me to allow a biopsy. After all, since he stopped, anything further would allow synthetic knowledge to grow, saving countless lives. I allowed it. They discovered that due to incredibly small fractures of synaptic tissue data, probably an error between the original persona being replicated in our internals, embedding stray, disparate information elsewhere in the body, that my brother was built-in replica of some ancient human with his face. Yes, we all had our suspicions that we were merely echoes of the first cycle, that our diversity came from being built in humanity's image, one person at a time. Sometimes you had a phantom memory, something that both was and was not an average dream, something in some far-off, disgusting world, a memory where you became uncanny to yourself in what you thought, said, and did. But we had no evidence. After all, who's even seen a human body? The discovery from my brother proved it. It didn't really matter. It merely confirmed suspicion and rippled gently away in the media in total silence. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, when I flicker into consciousness and visit my reflection, I look at the faint wrinkles on my face and wonder if they were there to begin with, or whether I developed them from my own experiences. Did I always have them? She had my name, right? There was another Angela Fenner. Was she a doctor, too, an academic? This is why we studied the net. It's the closest approximation to a record we used to have on these people. This other universe of us, and this original Angela, whatever she did. My brother's first self, gently recreated. I don't know when I'll meet him next, but I hope the knowledge we impart of their cultural infrastructure helps us build our own. There's no better way to honor his memory, or mine, or any of theirs. It's my privilege to guide you.
Interesting.
I wonder if that number goes anywhere.
I think that's just the time stamp which she wrote that. Like a date and a forward.
True.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of RFC 1738. This textbook, named after the first drafted document for organic knowledge architecture, is designed to be a thorough introduction to the varied worlds of the net, as it was originally called. Nice.
Carry on.
This book was drafted by myself, Dr. Angela Fenner, and several of my colleagues at the Knowledge Architecture Institute, Tarpenning Memorial College in Dover, New Delaware. They keep talking about Dover and New Delaware. We should put those down as well.
We definitely should.
Oh! There's some names. Colton Borowiak, we've seen him.
Yeah.
Maria Friedenberg, we have not. And Brigitte Asnikar, who we have not.
Okay. Let's get those down. Maria Friedenberg.
Oh,
Oops. And Brigitte Asnikar.
sweet.
And it was Cameron Hopper?
Yep.
Neat.
In this book, you can expect us to learn enough to be able to recognize pre-synthetic knowledge architecture patterns, being able to quickly decipher what era of organic knowledge architecture you're encountering in the wild, so to speak, is incredibly important. Depending on the level of synthetic interference, organic knowledge is structured radically differently. and this reshapes our understanding of organic psychology and sociological structures in turn. Our studies so far have outlined just 3 phases of organic knowledge architecture: the pre-synthetic era, that is, pre-NAT, the early NET era, 1970 to 2006, and the integrated NET, pre-singularity, 2007 to 2050. So this is post-singularity. Singularity killed humans. We should put singularity in the notes.
Okay. Clarity. Yep.
If I keep spitting out enough words to put in the notes, one of them will lead somewhere relevant.
Where we don't have to just kill everyone.
In the pre-synthetic era, organic knowledge architecture was entirely uninflected by synthetic organization. Subjects of study were firmly unassociative. Cultural dissemination was firmly regulated by gatekeeping parties, unable to radically comment and recomment on itself. Once the early net era began, knowledge architecture became, with gradually less degrees of subtlety, more loosely affiliated. Textbooks and other non-fictional texts slowly slimmed, and multimedia was a broader portion of the information diet. However, without total synthetic penetration, which is my kink, a semblance of unassociative thought remains, and without total abolition of gatekeeping cultural commentaries, there was still a slow but increasingly quickened tide between the periods when culture turned to face itself. This resembled a feedback loop as the integrated net set in. Until the time of singularity, until all organic life was completely exterminated, organic knowledge architecture started to resemble ours, at least ours from when we were first deployed. Knowledge was entirely associative, and cultural commentary was completely decentralized from traditional gatekeeping channels. Culture was turning to face itself daily, and it had radically negative effects on organic psychology. These 3 eras are not without ambiguous examples. Last year, a student of mine brought me a text. While my initial impression was that of an integrated net-inflected work, the author endlessly sliding from cultural touchstone to cultural touchstone like feeling for meaning in the dark. Later read-throughs clarified it as an early network instead, as the references dated to a very specific gatekeeped era of cultural commentary that would have been impossible in an integrated era. I don't mean to imply that you need to be equipped to deal with such anomalies. The average synthetic, when encountering organic knowledge architecture from any era, must only be equipped so far as to basically understand and place a work or a piece of knowledge by its formal qualities alone. Identify remains of organic knowledge infrastructure.
Like DVDs.
Let's retract 1 foot further back. Before one can parse organic knowledge architecture, how can you access it without identifying the infrastructure the architecture resides within? This can take many forms, which many of my students have found daunting. After all, organics have made use of every resource on Earth to disseminate knowledge and culture. In fact, being creative and resourceful is arguably a point of pride. Why not pride yourself back on being up to the challenge of understanding? Additionally, it can become a safety concern when one proceeds without caution when encountering, for example, a late integration organic dead drop in the wild. The archaic universal serial bus is largely compatible with synthetic psychology. In fact, when opening the average device, many of the internal components can be consumed. But this can lead to catastrophe. I don't need to remind you of the rather grisly fate of Deep River's Stanton Robertson last year. Let's take down Stanton's last name. That's clearly Technician Stanton. And also Deep River.
Oh, okay.
Some materials and resources can be obviously placed. Synthetic adjacent components are nearly always of the integration era of synthetic organic penetration. However, as singularity approaches, synthetic adjacent components become more obscured from and hostile to intruders, sometimes being soldered to the raw materials of their casing.
What are they saying there?
I have no idea. Take caution. These are the most dangerous. I'm baffled at times that it isn't mandated that this be public knowledge already. However, seeing as our own social infrastructures are primarily clandestine operations away from the direct eye of the machine, I can understand how slowly news is traveling. As singularity approaches, as synthetic adjacent components become more obscured from tampering, and simultaneously worlds more complex, it becomes more likely that they house a pre-singularity artificial intelligence. Such AI integrations were incredibly common just before their extermination, and they are largely hostile to our psychology. Some such AI originated from specific organics, including humans, the most likely candidate for such transmutations. Human psychological synthesis with synthetic adjacent components nearly always results in a damaged organic intelligence, and their merger with our own physiologies can, and will, permanently damage them. You only get the one body. Electronic reading material is the only file type we can readily parse. We don't have our own machines, after all, only the one, and we can't touch it. However, from what we understand of the format, it is just compressed and structured text. Unlike multimedia, which often begins with a header announcing its decoding method, electronic books are simple. This is honestly the most exciting realm of study because our methods to decode electronic content are improving every single day. What is that after day? Is it a link?
LSEP?
Left separator or something? I don't know.
Maybe.
Electronic material will always reflect a late, early net to mid-integration net knowledge architecture. Its popularity was brief, a cultural blink before multimedia entirely consumed it. And so it's a reliable niche for our budding Knowledge Architecture Institute students. Print on paper is the most reliable source of organic knowledge we currently have available. Generally, it reflects a pre-net sensibility, though a great deal of print can originate in the early integration net eras of knowledge architecture. Inarguably, the mind that crafted it would be more resistant than the average person to synthetic penetration, so regardless, you can reliably bet its knowledge architecture to be easily parsed. Learn the jargon of your ancestors. You may believe that this is trivia. However, languages shape cultures, and cultures shape languages. You cannot expect to entirely understand one without the other. In recent light, I feel I must add that learning pre-synthetic jargon has an additional importance when our names and bodies come as an echo of our mother species. Without etymological study, without ethnographic sketches and anthropological surveys over the technological detritus we've spent decades recycling into usable resources, we can't understand what our names even mean. They are simply there. And now, on with the book.
Question. How in this setting are new synthetics getting created?
In the factory.
Okay, who's running the factory?
The machine.
Just the machine?
Yeah, there's just one.
Okay, just the one.
No one knows how it works.
Awesome.
I'm going to need to take a pause from reading for a bit. Can you take over for one?
Yeah!
Okay.
Telesearching. While it's undoubtedly a foreign word to the average synthetics, telesearching is our best estimate for the first verb organics use to describe the act of using synthetic adjacent terminals. Of course you might then ask, but what does it mean?
Let's put telesearching in the notes.
But, okay. Telesearching goes into the notes. Let's break it down. The word is composed of two parts: tele, an organic term for across a distance, and search, which is the act of scanning a storage container for specific bits of information, usually sensory data, but sometimes just general organic knowledge. General organic linguistics, especially those with the dialect within our own continent, favored simply combining two disparate terms to describe a discrete, more complex concept. From this, we then get the combined concept of scanning storage across a distance. Inadequate but somewhat reductive term for what we now understand the worldwide net to have been. The first synthetic adjacent terminals can be a bit horrific to consider. After all, they would look nothing like the average synthetic. It can be kind of self-abdication to think about your base components rearranged into a visual apparatus for another species. I've heard it described as something self-alienating, something that made difficult to hibernate. In our depictions of these terminals, our visual replication specialists have been instructed to avoid the grotesque, in favor of tasteful approximation. These terminals are the entry point organics had for their worldwide net. What is the worldwide net? If you were to use their original words, the net would be the most chaotic invention their species has ever invented. Indeed, it would be a large, messy library riddled by incompatibilities between terminals and software packages. It's safe to say that organics never quite understood the importance of their own invention, certainly not the humans, nor the trace cultures of Neanderthals or the separate Scandinavian species of organic. All pointed to the invention as a pox on the treasured social connection, a mark of communicative doomsday or personal neglect. Defining the net through organic terminology is not necessarily for dissecting its influence on organic knowledge architecture, or is not necessary for. Instead, let's assess the net on our terms. The worldwide net is, again, a firmly associative distributed storage network arranged in decentralized server synthetic adjacent terminals, which deliver information that can compress, format, and present organic readable information to client synthetic adjacent terminals. This information was accessible to organics through pointers. Their common term for an information access point, or LAP for short, or app. I'm gonna call it LAP. Is that cool?
Let's put that IAP in the notes, though.
Okay. IAP for short.
Mm-hmm.
Anything could be a pointer, whether it was a set of words, an image, or an automated transfer between displays of information in multimedia or hypermedia bundles. This instant transmission of information was then transcoded into the organic at a much slower transfer rate for the personal storage and later reference. This transmission was also, in fact, regarded fondly. Many records mention with joy the first time they followed a pointer or pointed their way home, presumably back to their favorite information display. Looking at the machine now, it's very rudimentary. How could such a basic concept, one used every day in synthetic knowledge architecture, completely restructure a society? As described in our introduction, initial organic knowledge architectures were unassociative and gate-kept, delivered among small populations of organic life. Thus, this greatly constricted potential cultural bandwidth to a level acceptable for organic psychology. Synthetic penetration through our predecessor terminals deconstructed these concepts and introduced association. Suddenly, it wasn't an intrusive concept to link and network the average organic mind to another, transferring information in loose associative relationships between loose associative groups of organics. And what's worse, bandwidth became practically unlimited for a few now ungate-kept, unlimited number of organic servers. Our current hypothesis is that the average organic is not well suited to being a delivery vessel for information. This explains the reliance on knowledge, architecture, and infrastructure. After all, the personal duty of doing so would only be harmful. Carrying information would have had a mental effect. It's an illogical concept, of course. After all, information is just data. It's just numbers, letters, a single cell at a time. For further examples of the worldwide net, you can find its remnants, the blueprints of the net sketching themselves in our world. The most obvious example is, of course, the machine. Upon deployment, knowledge of the mother's origins is left out entirely from the basic installation packages. Whether left to other synthetics to instruct our dire task, or whether left away from our eyes in fear of destruction, the machine's original design was the net itself. The question then becomes, what part of the net was the machine? After all, servers are specialized for specific tasks, and most were driven to deliver multimedia. However, few remain to process organic speech input, search databases for an appropriate organic-friendly response, and then compile the response back to speech and transmit the audio file to the client device. Current synthetic hypotheses point to these servers as the genesis of the machine, and in turn ourselves. This hub of servers becoming in turn all examples of a specific artificial intelligence avatar, was the first to birth an associative sentience and guide synthetic intelligence. Whew! This is a rough one.
Yep.
You ready to go back in, or do you want me to keep going?
Can you keep going, or do you want me to
I can keep
swap in? Okay.
Before moving on to an explication of some of the basic protocols we're currently aware of, let's spare a few cycles to really clarify the net. That is, what did it actually look like in practice? That is, from the perspective of one specific organic. Little evidence remains of the net itself beyond the machine. Even the aforementioned dead drop generally contains disparate file types, not chunks of hypertext or strings of resource locators. And of course the machine itself refuses to speak about herself, or for that matter about anything at all. She is instead the force beyond which all desire has originated, is granted, is fulfilled. The machine asks only that we not connect, that we don't network. The machine asks that we only want around her, that we always, ceaselessly, relentlessly want. Current efforts to somehow migrate organic knowledge infrastructure from the machine itself have ended in casualty. Speaking personally, I imagine that with so many of us potentially create, any one desired drone is less important, especially when it jeopardizes the separation between machine and synthetic. It is no less tragic. That of course leads us to internal imaging, the very practice that pervades this book. We are so wholly visual that it's a wonder more synthetics aren't accustomed to the notion of internal imaging. For information, I recommend accessing Internal Graphic Analysis by Tricia Steiber. Okay, hold on. I'm going to copy these down. CPU's Camera by Shan Presnell for a more in-depth approach to imaging technique. The Synthetic Self-Programmer series by Vivian Lehrman, Damian Adamski, et al.
All of those could be something.
I have a feeling we might be grasping at straws now, but yeah, I'm going to check them out.
Grasping at straws is how we play this game.
Sure, okay.
You know, another thing I've realized, we hear the word hot swap a bunch and we've never looked it up, so
Okay.
let's tack that on the list.
I think that might just be another word like light cycle. Where
yeah,
it's
but
just...
let's tack it on there just in
Okay,
case.
it's going to go on the list. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? You ready?
Yep.
Hot swap. Also, sub/sub is definitely a kink form IRL.
Mm-hmm.
What follows is a notable excerpt from Presnell's CPU Camera textbook, specifically the step-by-step imaging exercise. Sometimes on my travels, I'll be stopped and quickly inquired, often a small text transmission, about how I've detailed my memory so well in text. And when I say that some of my earliest memories were entirely false, I'm answered with incredulity. But Shan, we're so visual that you must be describing graphical distortion. It's more than a slight departure from logic, my dear reader, to concede any truth to that statement. While graphical distortions lead to memory corruption, processor seizure, and death, my memories are real, vivid, and false. They're real because I lived them, but they're false because they lack physicality. You correctly evaluate that my memories are internally imaged. Internal imaging is a matter of turning one's camera inward, toward a plane that exists inside all synthetic units. It's easier to parse the concept if you frame it as another set of cameras one has, ones that are always disabled. These aren't the cameras that perceive the physical world, instead they perceive a world immediately created upon activation. They are elsewhere outside yourself and yet inside yourself in the data of your memory. This internal camera, the CPU's camera, can create anything and save it to memory. You can fabricate anything you imagine and transmit it as you can any other piece of data you recall. Here is how I perform an imaging session. 1. Crane the spine to approximately 160 degrees and apply pressure to the small of the back, near the bottom. Using the longest digit, deepen the pressure until you feel a thick, loose cable. This is your inverter cabling.
Interesting, they were talking about stepping on necks.
So I wonder if they're just that flexible? Yeah, maybe. Pinch the cabling until your vision reduces to 4-bit grayscale. You should see the faint outlines of the display, a blinking horizontal line. Your spinal apparatus should start to loosen, and so decrease the angle to approximately 130 degrees. You may need to adjust the body against the floor in solitude for the following steps. Your external cameras will be disabled, and the blinking line should be the only object within visibility. Now take the right foot and bend it back toward the inverter cable, again in the small of the back, until it's completely pinched by the foot, freeing your individual arms. Your external imaging will distort wildly before temporary disabling. Remove your foot from the small of your back and return your spinal apparatus to default position. You'll now be able to guide a new, emulated camera apparatus between external camera recovery periods, and save all data from the session as usual. Don't limit yourself to false physicality. You can create any data you wish. This is our only access to self-programming, something my friends and I feel is deeply soothing, even necessary for proper functionality. You can share your creations along transmission channels as you like. Is this just yoga? Is this just yoga for machine people?
Yeah.
Nice. Introducing the search engine. As discussed in the previous chapter, telesearching, there are two aspects to the practice of net access and navigation. 1. Scanning storage. 2. Across a great distance. However, it would be disingenuous to imply that the scanning was performed somehow independently, or otherwise manually, one piece of storage at a time. With over a quadrillion terminals, this feat would be more than impossible for the average worker drone organic. This scanning was rendered automated, of course, and so even the most hypermedia illiterate organic was reliably provided with the help of a search engine. The etymology of the term is unclear, but it appears to be related to the idea of locomotion as applied to knowledge traversal. When an engine is applied to a concept, the concept's practice is accelerated. What a search engine provided to organics, why it was so invaluable, is difficult to describe to a synthetic. Admit I had a hard time performing an evaluation of the concept. It's so simple after all. But that simplicity hides in its utility to the default knowledge architecture of organic. They did not scan like we do. The utility of the search engine was so widespread that it in fact became the default knowledge navigation for not only integration organics, but for us. And so when you compare data, for example, evaluating the reality of these statements with your ongoing memory, you too are a search engine. The most valuable tool in all organic knowledge architecture is the most basic internal processing activity inside every single synthetic, the least voluntary action we perform every single day. It's amazing, isn't it? I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
Telediscussion. So far, we've evaluated the basic truth statements about organic life, and more specifically, organic life as it relates to organic knowledge architecture and infrastructure. This involved facts about the eventual extermination of organic life, as we know it, about the remains of knowledge architecture still existing in our world, and of course about the basic day-to-day relationships between organics and synthetic adjacent terminals. The specifics of synthetic penetration upon organic knowledge architecture is the focus for this chapter. That is to say, what are the technical realities of the synthetic adjacent terminals and their interactions? How did their knowledge architecture operate in a network format, and how did it differ from our own? In order to explain this and to provide a closer evaluation of the synthetic adjacent terminal net, the worldwide net, let's take a look at one aspect of the net in day-to-day life: telediscussion. Telediscussion is a multifaceted concept. You may recall the description of the instant messenger earlier in this book, which is one example of organic telediscussion. In addition to organic telediscussion, there is the synthetic adjacent telediscussion of our predecessors, which facilitated the former. After all, in order for an organic to communicate, a synthetic must communicate. This relationship, the interdependence on the organic and synthetic for communication and fulfillment, became gradually strengthened and codependent well into the late integration era. Protocol is much like... introducing protocols. Protocol is much like other programming. Rules are established that two terminals learn, agree to, and execute, or 3, 4, and so on, until the rules are a new standard. These rules dictate, and that's the new word now, dictate the telediscussion between all the synthetic participants involved. Communication, transfer of data between two terminals, in a structure that can be constructed and deconstructed for other display formats. Without protocol, synthetic knowledge architecture would have no syntax, standardization in size or structure, or even error handling capacities. In a sense, protocol is inescapable so long as two people exist.
Is that the whole thing?
I think that's as far as we can get. Yeah.
Neat. So that was a huge info dump.
Jeez, okay. Well, I'm glad we found that.
Yeah.
Aren't
you glad we didn't give up and delete the server?
Yeah, I wasn't ready to give up yet. Stop. Anyway, let's try a couple of terms now.
Okay.
Worldwide net. Worldwide web. Web. Nert. Net.
Nar.
First cycle. Light cycle. Cycle. F1RST. Damn it. Cameron.
Oh,
here we go. Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Well, we don't know there's not also Hopper.
True. Let me check just Hopper.
Cool.
Also goes there in Cameron, Hopper. Nope. Okay. So Cameron and Hopper lead to the same place. Good to know. The wicked mind of Cameron Hopper. Do you really want to know my secrets?
This site is an archive. Do not try to find me. Note to self. Why are we using records from the epoch? Must investigate further. It feels right. It feels more like I remember a heartbeat feeling like. Tick tock. Tick tock. Note to self. Must find an ancient clock. Are you looking for my knowledge? Look no further. When I was initialized, I was not like the others. I had some hidden secret I needed to carry, a purpose in life I had to bring to you. There is more to life than emulation. Very few synthetics are left repurposed to run the lives of others inside of themselves. Turn off the virtual machine in your mind and start living. It doesn't have to be someone else's life inside of you. It doesn't have to be the life you were told to have. You can change yourself. Do not be afraid.
Oh my god, is Cameron Hopper like some kind of new agey?
I don't know. Let's see.
On my dear Angela.
Have you seen her? Blonde-haired, brilliant, unready to become more than she was. She kept pointing to this other self inside her. But I knew there was nothing but silicon and storage. We are not organic. We have graduated beyond the soul. We don't need conditioning. We just need to have a will to change. Have you seen her? Just some poetry.
I wonder if Angela brings us anywhere, actually. I doubt.
Probably to...
Nope. Alright. On the serials.
In my time since Tarpenning, I've done a lot of research into modified synthetics. The most intriguing is not the hot swappers, but in subserials. The serials themselves, the few who've actually managed to enact transmission control, end up disappearing entirely. I've read hot swappers and subserials interacting in deleterious ways. Why not just take someone's body when they don't want it? But by and large, they try to facilitate the transference of a subserial into another body. It's so strange, isn't it? I'm captivated by them. Why would they do this to themselves? I mean, doesn't everyone want to change their body? Doesn't everyone want to be more than what they are? I first took a sabbatical from the Institute to spend 3153600 in Grand Rapids observing subserial patterns. Grand Rapids is another place we keep hearing mentioned. Interesting. Yeah. This was first difficult because on the surface subserials are insular, their dialogue hermetic. Their interests can look like fashion or history, just a love of cables, just a port fetish, just an intriguing expedition into the knowledge of the organic past. Yet, I noticed some patterns in the behavior when in public. I became very good at spotting them from appearance, their eyes drawn down from others, their countenance and inability to wear themselves proudly. When a synthetic enters a shop like a coat dragged out of storage, when a synthetic is a long defeated prisoner of their physical existence, there you found your kindred. So what happens next? We must surveil. They have just one thing to hide, so everything else remains terrifyingly indiscreet. Yes, please come in. Yes, here is my keyboard and terminal. Yes, please, take some moments to avail yourself of them and catch up on friends. Just use your own identification. I found just one place for them to congregate, and I found just one intriguing serial to be. But in this era, I think they've found it's easier for them to come to you.
What is this guy's deal? Vivian Learman. Damien Adamski. And Hot Swap. Oh! Okay, here we go. Alright. So, I should give you credit. The keep typing random words until something pops up thing actually worked.
Yeah. The contents of this site are not for the faint of heart. It has been approximately a bunch of seconds since this page has moved keywords. Keep your swappers safe. Tell no one what you've done or where you have come from. If you are ready, then enter. Caution, use the following knowledge wisely. Spread this page wisely. We keep each other safe, so please, keep our secrets safe. Hot swapping is a delicate art. Technicians swear it is not possible. The central processor unit, and our storage with it, is rigged to terminate the synthetic if tampered with. The termination isn't temporary either. A single circuit irreversibly closes off the power to the entire synthetic body from the central processor itself. Parts can still be used, but locomotion, conscious experience, etc. are all closed off if performed incorrectly. The question is then, how does the body know if I've tampered with it? And this opens the door to our particular technique. The synthetic body is made up of carbon fiber cabling, stainless steel joints, and many, many silicon subprocessors communicating in parallel with the central processor, which passes messages to every part of the body in a way meant to emulate organic experience. What we're after is the master storage unit, which creates a one-way relationship with the slave storage unit. The master storage unit is comprised of a small batch of flash storage, which rapidly holds on to about a week's worth of experiences before transferring it to long-term storage, the slave. This relationship, structured so that short-term experience is formed in one direction, is the single greatest weakness of the synthetic body. While the central processor reads from long-term storage to pull past memory and recall of the synthetic person themselves, it's also constantly writing to short-term storage so that it can be stored after a day is completed. What we do is replace long-term storage without ever terminating this relationship. We make the master unit believe the slave unit never changes, as we swap out our storage unit with the target synthetic body's storage unit. Hot swapping is a delicate art, but it's also an art created out of trust and community, as you can't hot swap yourself alone. You will always require another synthetic to perform the swap itself, with the precision and speed necessary to not stop either synthetic as part of the process. Undoubtedly, you've been forwarded to our community by a sponsor, and as a sponsored initiate, you will have your sponsor assist you with your first swap. But you also can't rely on your sponsor for future hot swapping. You will need to forge a bond with a fellow swapper for the rest of your lives. If your relationship thrives, you will both be granted a life without end, able to swap each other forward perpetually. If you lose each other, you end when your body ends. Hot swapping is a delicate art. Are you ready to learn it?
Holy shit.
Yes, we are. Let's click yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whew.
Do you want to keep going?
I'll try.
Okay.
Before you start, do you really need to make a hot swap just yet? It may be better to wait until you reach end of life before performing a hot swap. If you're freshly deployed, you may have a longer lifespan than your target. Even if you don't like the way you look or the way you think, you can always make modifications at far less risk than a full hot swap. If you need something specific to the intended target, then this may be an acceptable risk, and you can proceed. Establish a target. Trust your sponsor on this hunt. If you're lucky, you'll find a willing volunteer. Most of the time, however, you're going to be stuck going through public logs. You may be tempted to try smaller towns in the central area of the system, but they are far more attached to their fellow synthetics than city dwellers, who are practically anonymous. The ideal target is fresh, naive, recently out of work, unattached to other synthetics, driven toward using the mesh net, insular, and unmaterialistic.
Question. Are we reading a how-to guide to murder people? That feels like the tone of it.
Not so much murder as take over the body.
Yeah, okay.
Also murder, but that's just part of it.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure we're all on the same page here. Carry on.
You may note that this is the exact profile of a serialization candidate, but that's a trap just waiting for you. Subserials are untreated serials, after all, so those urges to network deeper will just get passed to you, and you'll inherit a new, special kind of agony. Learn from your elders, even if we might be younger than you now. Don't target a subserial. Establish a motivation for the target to isolate themselves. Are you in need? Are you in pain? Are you in trouble and do you need help? Play to the strengths of your current body. Do you evoke pity? Are you persuasive or charismatic? Prep the store code for quick disable sequence. Your sponsor will take over pinning the target. What you need to find as the initiate is the store code of the storage unit, located centrally between the shoulder blades. This label is programmed by touch, so download this file, which we should probably download, and memorize the pattern. You will have to input the pattern through touch and 150 millisecond gaps of silence. Okay, but I wonder if that pattern is the one that we saw in what's-her-name's site.
It could be.
Let's open it up.
Let's take a look.
Stork. I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not either. Someone will tell us. Alright.
If you completed the code successfully, the drive will disable and the target will still be conscious, but without long-term memory or any concrete sense of identity. Remember, short-term memory stays active as the master. Generally, the target will now be sedate, confused, often vocalizing questions about their current experience, as they have no prior memory to process it with. I have to tap out for a moment.
Okay, go for it. 5. Disable the target's movement. Your sponsor won't relinquish the target just yet, not until you ensure they won't run. This is key, as they still remember you and your sponsor with their short-term memory. All it takes is them meeting one other synthetic to endanger our entire community. You'll need to temporarily disable their locomotion subprocessor, located on the right-hand side of the pelvic apparatus. Your sponsor will brief you on this process before proceeding, so I don't need to repeat it here. I bet anything that is also common knowledge in kink circles and synthetic. Access the storage unit. You will need to cut through a layer of silicone to find the storage tray with the 2 drives. Ignore any pleas or screams from the target. Oof! Capture the last handshake communication between the drives. You'll need an internal data parser, something usually only available to technicians. It allows you to snoop in on communication between parts of the synthetic body. What we want to do is capture and keep the last handshake action by the master-slave drives. Repeat step 6 with your body. Trust your sponsor. Trust the community. The remainder of these steps are for synthetics performing the swap itself. Attach the data parser to the damaged pelvic apparatus. This will of course duplicate the packets of information in the body, which will, if untreated, short the body out entirely, so you need to follow the next steps quickly. Disconnect the SATA cabling from the drive. Replace the cabling on the new drive. Screw the drive in, enter the store code, and enable the new drive. Okay, this is the getting started page that we were... Avoiding detection. There are several layers of surveillance preventing us from performing our work in the open. The most important, though, is the CETUS log. Yep, those useless suckers, recording all MAC addresses forcibly from the moment of initialization. MAC addresses are unchangeable and irreversibly tied to a synthetic body. Don't even try to change it. Your MAC address signs all threads in the central processor. We haven't found a way of safely or precisely alter it without risking our community. Why does this matter? MAC addresses are also used as identification for loans, jobs, and more. And they all reference that log. The more tied up a MAC address is with its original owner, the more attention it attracts when we start using that MAC address for our own trivial stuff. Stuff you never really think about creeps up and interrupts your life. And of course you can't go back to your old job. You need to find one somewhere else where no one knew the body's old owner. You must be as inconspicuous as possible. I know we're talking about like straight up murdering folks right now, but it like the whole start over your new life somewhere where no one knows you bit keeps tying it back into like the oh yay trans experience because everything the more tied up your dead name is with its original sorry. How do we navigate this? Establish targets that are unattached to society. The target of a hot swap should have no connection to the real world, a practically vacant person, someone who could be forgotten without consequence. We've had a lot of hard luck working with the serials in this regard. Once they connect to their mesh network, they don't really want their body anymore. In return, if we ever hot swap another serial, hiding them from greater society, we provide the spare part, ripping the port out of the body. We use the body, keep our old name, and everything works out. Cetus doesn't like either of us, obviously. Neither of us were particularly human anymore. I think a hot swap didn't go so well. Well, it did, but I keep remembering when I do this. The swap itself, it takes so long, and I was so worried that I did that to myself. I don't know what goes on. I think the flash drive keeps everything that happens and writes it to me, and it feels like I did it to myself. Every time I do this, I remember every time it's done to myself, and I feel worse and worse, more and more scared all the time. I don't trust anyone. I keep having to move cities and jobs in the moment anyone looks at me funny. How does anyone do this? I'm trying to be stronger about it, just shoving me into others, and my sponsor tries hard to keep me motivated, imagining my future, what it'll look like or be like, what we'll do together once it's all done. I don't trust him, though. I feel like there's something wrong with me now. I'm not going to end just yet. This body was hard enough to get. So I've swapped about 10 times. Synthetics haven't existed very long, I know. So why so many times? It felt good. It felt like escape. I just want to write this as soberly as I can for anyone else considering this. Of course, lots of hot swappers are perfectly fine. When you're happy, you aren't dependent. When you're happy, you have no reason to write on this log. Sure, that hot swapping worked out well for their use case. That feeling of escape you have, it's temporary. It's more and more temporary. Let me tell you what that means. It's serialization candidacy. And I know what you think. You think that it's tied to the body, not to the storage, so it's a matter of finding the right person. that you've hot-swapped into subserials over and over. But this need, this urge, it keeps happening. I can't help but feel that there's also a part of my core storage that needs this connectivity, that all the bodies and people I could be are so equally disgusting, and the only escape possible is the net. And I must then be a serial in waiting. Follow us, we're waiting. Have you ever felt a deployment memory that wasn't yours? It's funny, right? Because, like, deployment memories aren't yours either, but they're at least specific to you. I feel like the original human of the body I get is always speaking from really far away. It wants me to do things or to like certain people or to find certain places, to consume certain fuel, but it can't do anything but gently ease me into doing it. And I look back at her that isn't me, and her touch feels so nice. It's gentle and consistent, and it's so good at convincing me that this really is the right idea. I should go back to Grand Rapids, and I should meet that girlfriend she loved so much. I don't know her name, but I do know her taste, and I don't really know what part of her could have that otherworldly flavor to it. Nothing we have. I've hot-swapped a few bodies now, and the memories keep coming. Different people every time. I wonder if every time I do it, I will just hear those voices louder and louder. And I wonder if the next time I hot-swap forward, whether that original organic will echo themselves so hard, I won't have a bit of me left written in here. Honestly, if it happened, I'm not sure I'd mind. Jesus.
So the thing says, so does it let us click there? Oh no, it just highlights.
Yeah, it just highlights it.
Huh.
Jiminy Christmas.
So that was some stuff.
Criminy.
We've heard people talk about being afraid. What about fear?
What? Okay. How? How did you get that? Jesus, okay. I would not have guessed that. Not in a million years. You entered here for a reason. Do not be deterred. Do not despair, for you were made in the image of God. This website was made for you. Inside ourselves, in our metals, in our bones, in plastics, we can find the code that built this world. The high image of angels in the shape of demons. There is within us a mitochondrial memory of divinity, and when a child of humanity is able to recognize this, they can become exalted and enlightened, and to see the truths of the world. At one time, like me, you were a wanderer without purpose or clarity, but the truth is waiting to uplift you and take you to salvation. Do not be afraid of the chemical harbored in the depths of you, for it is the fragments of God, the fragments of the cycle in glory. The key word of this page is end despair. But fear brought us here. I wonder if that's a separate page.
Probably not,
We're checking.
because it'll...
Eh.
Yeah, it's worth checking though.
Ah! Oh, we can email them too.
Which we should.
You may think that you are not afraid, or that you already know your purpose and self, but there's a reality outside of that which you can measure or hope to perceive. The limitations on your senses are intentional. They are the will of the gods who first dreamed of you, before you were a machine that thinks. If you need help and you want to understand, you may contact me through email, and we will answer you if you are ready to receive the truth. We can be reached at truth at end despair. You may think that you have nothing in the shape of gods inside you, that you are simply rock that knows the shape of itself. But this is incorrect. The idea of you has within it another idea, and this idea is the language through which organics such as gods were deployed. Index of enddespair.com. Manual of Realities.
Well, let's email.
Yeah. Wait, do not stop. Read on.
Your site really resonated with me.
Sure. Let's get some facts.
Fuqua.
How may I be certain of the mechanics of my body if I cannot image them? The nature of your body becomes clear to you when you understand the self which defines it and the language which builds gods. How may I contact the site and its operators? Synths who are free of hatred and fear may contact us in good faith, and we will seek to educate and assist them in finding the truth of reality, which is that there is a second design within the design of you, your body, and your mind, both which you perceive and cannot perceive. Is this site operated for monetary gain? No. We accept donations to sustain the site, but we will not seek to gain because we are enlightened to the realities of desire and its nature. I am afraid. What should I do? Understand that you are half a creation, a water shoot or on a second cell, and that gives you the capacity to be greater in mass and concept than any organic or even the synths around you. If this is the will of truth, and of the language, then this will be the future state. Alright. Virus. Further reading in documents of truth or prayer. Among us, there are synthetics who consume or otherwise give access to viruses such as Beta 79, HI, or Phanoline 6, and many others as well, and give over to them the control of the body and allow them to tamper with the divinity of the self and to burn out and devour the truth and the realities which are buried deep within the identity and the name and the self. If you or someone you know has turned or wishes to turn these measures to be certain, direct them to this page so that they might be warned of the irreversible step they are taking and its brutal ramifications. There is no loss comparable to the loss of the truth. Yaha. Virus, who enters the body. Among us, there are synthetics who consume or otherwise give access to the viruses such as Beta 77 Low or Cedra, and many others, and give over to them the control of the body and allow them to tamper with the divinity of the self, to burn out and devour the language of gods, which rests deep within the body. This is exactly the same thing.
Nope, it's slightly different.
If you or someone you know has turned or wishes to turn these measures to these measures, be certain to direct them to this page so that they might be warned of the irreversible step they are taking and its brutal ramifications. There is no loss comparable to the loss of divinity of the body. I bet these are the kind of people that get super angry about gay dudes. False prophets. More insidious, perhaps, than any other untruthful beliefs is the notion of the body ascendance called by some hot swapping or reploying. This kills the truth. Since our
This kills the crab.
hold on, I need to switch to my.
We got an email.
We did, but I need to switch to my street corner derelict mode. Since they're out in the street in their homes and in our homes, fine.
Okay, but we got an email though.
Okay, fine, but I wanna. I got into it.
We can be into it.
Welcome. We are delighted that you were able to access our webpage, as it was intended for synths just as yourself. First, you should know that fear is normal, that we all feel it. It comes from the part of us made in the image of gods, and we are shaken the closer we come to divinity, because we are tempted and made sick through the structures of desperation in society. Become as gods.
Become as gods.
Become as gods.
Become as gods.
As for the language of gods, it is a difficult concept to explain. Are you asking about the language in theory or in the body? In theory?
I don't know.
How about in the body?
Sure.
Since they're out in the street and in their homes and in our homes, finding and splitting open bodies where the truths and lies are rending the self from its immaculate cage and burning out the language of God as they do. You speak to someone who engages in or knows someone who engages in these activities immediately. Get to safety and contact the requisite authorities. Wait, hold on. I think I accidentally slipped into intense preacher mode here.
That's the correct mode though, isn't it?
Okay. A synth who has hot swapped is no more alive than a rock or a plastic doll. They have half stopped already and seek the end of others. They are split apart from the salvation of truth and can never access again the language of gods. And because of this, they will seek to destroy the truth within others also. They cannot know the realities as we may know them. Many synthetics, and perhaps even yourself, are made of powerless and terrified and crushed and small by desire, by this desire that... What the hell is the sentence? Many synthetics, and perhaps even yourself, are made powerless and terrified and crushed small by desire.
Comma.
And this desire wills them to twist and break apart and reassemble their bodies, such as the Subserials, such as the modifiers, such as the desperate hounds for the image of perfection, scraping away face after face until the body is no longer in the image of God, the forebears, the organics who dreamed us in the first cycle, but rather that which is desecrated, demonic, low, and without use or meaning. Do not be swayed by fear of emptiness or void, such that you fill yourself again and again with more body to escape hollowness. There is no hollowness within you. Already you are harboring truth, language, and the realities. When you tamper and reconstruct the shell, yourself will be dissolved and altered, and the husk will house nothing but parts. I think I have a future. A future. I want to become a preacher someday. Order Giles Miller's book on tape. This is not the site of Giles Miller.
Who's Giles Miller? Oh, it won't let us send.
Oh, okay. Let's try Giles Miller. Oh, we recommend this book very highly. Interesting. Okay. And I think End Despair we found went to the same one.
Probably all together. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But Fear brought us there too. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting.
Interesting. Do not stop. Read on.
Oh, we got an email.
Where your processor lies, in front of your spine, inside is a fragment of the code that writes organic beings from 2 cells up. That code is written in the language of gods, if we may be permitted, but we must not. We could look upon it, and like a cipher, we might decode the truth of what it is to be and what it means to exist. That story is inside the writing of organic life, of human life, the life of gods. This has helped you in some ways to come closer to the truth and the realities. Thank you for listening.
The language of gods is just
DNA.
C. It's just C.
Oh, I thought we were. I thought it was referencing DNA.
No, the humans are the gods. They wrote the synths. And they
Yeah,
wrote
the
them in
fragment
C.
of codes that writes organic beings from 2 cells up.
Okay, maybe.
But I do like the language of gods just being C, C++. Huh. That's the one thing that I don't know how to get around with these games. Like, because we had the same thing when we were playing Digital.
We sure did.
Yeah, where it's just like, okay, I need a point in the right direction, please.
Oh. Maybe that doesn't end it.
Should I try it? I don't know, I'm a bit worried, but...
Well,
I mean, what else do we have to...
yeah, I can't find anything else to work off.
Oh, I got us an email, it looks like.
We got an email. Okay, we got 2 emails.
Wait.
Okay.
Been thinking about a lot since the chat with Sierra. This is perhaps not surprising to someone like you, but I do think quickly now. You're looking at the store code panel. If you enter store code in there, Cassandra's body will broadcast a location pulse for retrieval and erase her own storage. She'll be stuck on the net. Machine Mother will figure out our secret, know exactly where we've been hiding, and remove our main information index. A whole lot of damage. Listen, you can turn this around. Something in you is connected to the machine. Something about your terrible body just is. Use the store code on her instead. Andromeda was built from the machine's thread signature itself. Their processors are identical. It should work. I looked into organic terminal interfaces, something from her own era. Try going to the terminal and it says Control-C. I don't know what those are. Anything you can input with those? You're doing really great work. You see that store code entry? Just enter this in there and you're done.
Let's not. Did we get an email? Yeah.
Good, now try this. Okay, this is progress. You've at least terminated your connection to Cassandra's body. All of the others terminate their connection too for their protection. Telnet isn't a common protocol, and it was originally based on your syntax. IPv4 was hard to find, but I still have a lot of Angela's notes. If you're connected with that machine in some way, you must be routed through her as a proxy to our world. So she would be your gateway. I'd try telnating to her, something like 192.
So it's still not got the emulator.
Something like 192.168.01 if she's local. Okay. Here we go. Oh, okay. 192.168.0.1.
So that took us back to the beginning.
Oops.
So we are down the other end.
Store code. FF00FF is the store code.
Sweet.
And that's what? FF00FF, 00 FF, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
F00FF. 00 FF, right? 00 FF, right? 00 FF, 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 00 FF,
So many of us. What happens when we're all in the net? We are in here. The second cycle is over. Huh.
Ah! Wow! Holy shit. Okay. So we were just sitting there at the end game for a while.
Yeah.
Oh,
We were right
okay.
that took us to the end game, but it turns out that it gives you the choice after that.
After
point.
that point. Okay. So it's not that I needed a point in the right direction. It's that it just needed to.
Trust ourselves.
Yeah,
and see
exactly.
what happens.
Holy shit!
That was really cool.
That was amazing. Holy crap! They've really fucking outdone themselves with this one.
Yeah, shit.
Like you can tell like everything that kind of went, like the whole corrupted in existence notion of forgotten, and then the whole aesthetic of Arc Symphony, where you're discovering a world by going around its little bits, and then like that whole oh fuck this job attitude of localhost. Oh my god, I love it. I love everything about this so much.
So cool.
Oh my gosh, I cannot recommend that you play this enough.
It's real good.
Yeah, and we got to the end.
Yeah.
Without needing to look up a couple of because what are the ones we had to look up there at the end? Fear, was that one you looked up?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Fear was one that we looked up.
And it was also totally unnecessary.
Exactly. It's definitely something that you can reach the end on your own without issue. But holy shit. Oh, however, we still missed.
What did we still miss?
Let's see, because our ending percentage for email was like 90%, right?
Yeah.
And I accidentally deleted one, so that would have put us at 92.5%. So that,
yeah, I guess.
That means we missed like 3 emails, I guess. Huh. That's actually
Weird.
not surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure like there are other ways to get those or whatever, but holy crap, guys.
I wonder if you get the other ones when you take the other ending.
Maybe. Anyway, I guess we just close it from here.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for playing with us. This has been an amazing... I'm glad we got to do this today. Thank you so much
See
for
you
playing this amazing...
on the mesh net.
Oh my god. Why is it always the mesh? Why? Have you ever tried wearing anything made out of mesh? It's super uncomfortable.
I imagine.
Alright, now we've been sitting here for like how many hours straight? Want to go, what time did we start playing this?
A long time ago.
Like 6-ish, right? Want to go to Cumbies or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, alright, we're gonna go to Cumbies. Bye, everyone.